typical Sitefinity website has several configuration options that are set to ensure proper functionality of the site. Often, the configuration values will change between environments. In this video, we'll explore how Sitefinity Cloud handles configuration changes between environments. When using Sitefinity Cloud, you will typically have a developer working on a local copy of the code, as well as staging and production environments. A common setting that needs to change for each of these environments is the database connection string. When a developer is working locally, a local SQL server is used. When the code is pushed to the staging environment, an Azure SQL database is used. And when the code is deployed to production, a different Azure SQL database is used. So in each of these environments, there's a different configuration setting that points to the appropriate database. Another common example might be that the SMTP server used to send email needs to change between each environment. Or it might be something like a key and secret to interact with an external API. In fact, there are numerous examples of these configuration options that change between environments. Managing the configuration options from the Sitefinity backend can quickly become complicated. Users might forget which options are set for which environments, or even forget to set the option altogether. And configuration options that are the same across environments require manual effort to repeat. Due to these potential complications, Sitefinity Cloud does not allow configuration changes to be made directly in the staging or production environments. Instead, Sitefinity Cloud offers two ways to manage configuration changes between environments, and each provides better tracking and consistency than doing it manually. Which option you use depends on the level of sensitivity or privacy you need for the configuration option. Config file transforms are used in cases where it's permissible to see the configuration options in clear text in the source code. An example might be the SMTP server information. When the data that's stored in the configuration option is more sensitive and you don't want to store it in the source code, you can use environment variables that are stored in the management portal. Let's review each of these options in a little more detail. Sitefinity has a built-in way to manage all the configuration options for various parts of the system. These are found under Administration, Settings, Advanced. To demonstrate a configuration option suitable for storing in a config file, let's look on the left side under Notifications, Profiles, Default. You can see that I could change the values here for the default SMTP configuration options, but Sitefinity Cloud prohibits this in the staging and production environments. So instead of managing the values here, I want to put them in a config file. Each of the settings on this page has a question mark next to it. If I click the question mark, I can see the path to the configuration property. For example, the path to SMTP host server is Notifications config, Profiles, Default, Host. I'm going to copy that value from this screen and paste it into a new app setting in the web config. It's worth mentioning that for config file transformations, you can store the configuration options in the web.config file or any Sitefinity configuration file. In either case, the transformation changes the value between environments. In our example, we'll use web.config transforms. At the bottom of the app settings section of the web.config file, I'll add a new key, making sure to add a prefix of sf-env: before the value I copied. With this value in the web.config, I'll restart the site. Then, I'll return to the Advanced Settings section and go to Notifications, Profiles, Default. Notice now that the text box is not editable and instead shows the key name of the variable. This tells us that Sitefinity is using the value from the web.config and no value can be entered here in the admin UI. The locally running copy of the application will use this value from the base web.config file. However, to change this value for staging and production, we need to add in web.config transforms for those two environments. If your project is not already set up with configuration settings for staging and production, you can right-click on the solution and go to Properties. Then click on Configuration Manager and add a new configuration. In my example, the production and staging environments are already present. If your project does not already have a web.production.config and a web.staging.config, you can right-click on the web.config file and select Add Config Transform. These files are used to override or transform the values that are set in the base web.config file. In the web.staging.config, I'll paste in the code used to override the email settings for the staging environment. And in the web.production.config file, I'll paste in the code used to override the email settings for the production environment. Finally, to include these two additional web configuration files in the deployment package, right-click on each and set the build action to Content. With these items in place, you can follow the standard procedure to commit your code changes, push to the remote repo, and create a pull request. After the request is approved, the package is copied to the staging environment and the appropriate transformation is applied. Finally, the package can be deployed to production to apply the production transformations. This process of deploying your local code to staging and production is covered in more detail in other videos in this series. This concludes our look at how to use web.config transforms to apply configuration changes that are not sensitive and can be stored in clear text in the source code. Let's next review how to apply more sensitive configuration changes. The first part of the process is identical to the method used for web.config transforms. We go to the Advanced Settings and find the path to the configuration setting you want to change between environments. Here I have connection information for the remote API I want to use. As before, I'll copy the configuration path and create a new key in the App Settings section of the web.config for the key and secret. These are the values that will be used when I run the project locally. This time, instead of using web.config transform files in Visual Studio, I'm going to use environment variables in Sitefinity Cloud. From the Welcome screen, I'll select Pipelines, then Library. Here you'll see a list of predefined variables that are already set up in Sitefinity Cloud. I'll click on the _customer_staging_variables group. Then I'll add specific variables for the key and secret using the same name we used in the web.config. I'll click Add and paste in the name sf-env::API-config::key and the value I want to use for staging. Then I'll click Add again and paste in the name sf-env::API-config::secret and the value I want to use for staging. Then I'll save this variable group. Next to each value, I can click on the padlock icon to make the variable value secret. Next, I'll repeat the same process for the variable group called _customer_production_variables. Again, I'll add the two variables for the key and secret to be used in the production environment. And that's all I need to do. During the standard CI/CD deployment process used by Sitefinity Cloud, the values in my web config file will be automatically replaced with the values stored in the variables in the management portal. In this video, we reviewed the processes used to apply configuration changes between different environments. We learned that Sitefinity Cloud has two mechanisms for storing the environment-specific settings. Web.config transforms are used for data that is not sensitive. Azure DevOps environment variables are used to store values that should not be visible in the source code. This video is one of a series of videos about Sitefinity Cloud. Make sure to check out the other videos to learn about the many benefits of Sitefinity Cloud.